Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. So continuing with our discussion on Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, Nature, the Enjoyer and the Consciousness, text number 13 onwards. So Krishna is further answering questions of Arjuna. Geyam yattat pravakshyami yadhyatva mritam ashnute nadi mat param brahma na sattan asad uchyate. I shall now explain the knowable, knowing which you will taste the eternal. Brahman, the spirit, beginningless and subordinate to me, lies beyond the cause and effect of this material world. So here Krishna is clearly saying the Brahman, the Brahm Jyoti is subordinate to me. It's not the Supreme. Brahm Jyoti is not the Supreme. That is subordinate to Krishna. The Lord has explained the field of activities and the knower of the field. He has also explained the process of knowing the knower of the field of activities. The process of knowing the knower is explained in verses 8 through 12 by developing those qualities. Now he begins to explain the knowable, first the soul and then the super soul. By knowledge of the knower, both the soul and the super soul, one can relish the nectar of life. Because this knowledge actually gives us the real enjoyment, real happiness. Otherwise, in ignorance, as long as we are only worried about the body, serving the body and trying to make the body happy or please the senses, it will not give us happiness, and never does actually. As explained in the second chapter, the living entity is eternal. This is also confirmed here. There is no specific date at which the Jiva was born, nor can anyone trace out the history of Jivatma's manifestation from the Supreme Lord. Therefore, it is beginningless. The Vedic literature confirms this. Na jayate mriyate va vipaschit. The knower of the body is never born and never dies, and he is full of knowledge. So he is Sat Chit and Ananda, made of Sat Chit and Ananda. So eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. The Supreme Lord as a super soul is also stated in the Vedic literature to be Pradhan Kshetragya Patir Gunesha, the chief knower of the body and the master of the three modes of material nature. So there are two knowers or knowable people who are supposed to be known by the knower. So they both are same, Jiva and the Paramatma, soul and the super soul. The living entities are eternally in the service of the Supreme Lord. This is also confirmed by Lord Chaitanya in his teachings. Therefore, the description of Brahman mentioned in this verse is in relation to the individual soul. And when the word Brahman is applied to the living entity, it is to be understood that he is Vijnana Brahman as opposed to Ananda Brahman. Anand Brahman is the supreme Brahman, personality of Godhead. So both are Brahman. Brahman means spiritual. Both are spiritual, but there's a difference between one Brahman and the other Brahman. Both are not the same. The Jiva and Paramatma, they're not the same. So therefore Prabhupada is saying, or Krishna also said that this Brahman, so we can say that is Brahm Jyoti or the soul, they both are under him. They both are subordinate to Krishna. Text 14. Now Krishna will talk about the super soul first. Sarvatah pani padam tat sarvato akshi shiro mukham sarvata shrutim malloke sarvam avritya tishtati. Everywhere are his hands and legs, his eyes, heads and faces, and he has ears everywhere. In this way, the supersoul exists, pervading everything. As a sun exists, diffusing its ultimate unlimited rays, so does the supersoul or the supreme personality of God. He exists in his all-pervading form, and in him exist all the individual living entities, beginning from the first great teacher, Brahma, down to the small ants. There are unlimited heads, legs, hands, and eyes, and unlimited living entities. All are existing. This is it. All are existing in and on the supersoul. Therefore, the supersoul is all pervading. The individual soul, however, cannot say that he has his hands, legs, and eyes everywhere. So, supersoul, as Krishna himself showed his universal form in 11th chapter, or in Bhagavatam, we've been studying his universal form. So, in the form of as a universal form, he has his hands, legs, eyes everywhere. As Krishna also, I mean, here they're talking about Paramatma, so it's a different story. But as Krishna also himself, the Shamsundar Krishna, he also has his hands and legs and eyes everywhere. But he displays it only in connection with his devotees. So just like if his devotee is offering in any part of the universe anything to him, or devotee is in trouble in any part of the universe, Krishna is present. Krishna will be there to take care of that situation. So, but he does not display that everywhere or all the time. That just for his devotees. But as a universal form, obviously, universal form it's all over the universe. The whole universe is under his jurisdiction. So his hands, legs, eyes, heads, faces are everywhere means he is approachable everywhere, and he can take care. Like the main thing is of maintenance of the universe, and as super soul, his other duties are he's a witness, sakshi, and anumanta. Means he's a sanctioner, gives a sanction for the desires of living entities. So that he has to do all over the universe. So individual soul, Prabhupada is saying, individual soul, however, cannot say that he has his hands, legs, and eyes everywhere. That is obvious. That is not possible. If he thinks that under ignorance, he is not conscious that his hands and legs are diffused all over, but when he attains to proper knowledge, he will come to that stage. His thinking is contradictory. So this is what Mayavadis argue, that they all say that we all are God. Right now we have forgotten we are God. We have come under Maya, so we have forgotten our real position. But when we become self-realized, then we'll remember we are God, and then we'll become God. So this kind of philosophy they give. But what Prabhupada is saying, and Prabhupada has said this over and over in different purports, that a jiva, a living entity, cannot be God. It's not like God becomes God by self-realization. He's always God. He's eternally, he's God. So, so the jiva is always jiva. Jiva, living entity, will always remain a living entity. Like we are not going to become God. We can only become godly. We can only become, we can only purify our consciousness. That's all. Like we can never say that our eyes and hands and legs are everywhere. They'll never be like that. A jiva will always remain a jiva. This means that the individual soul, having become conditioned by material nature, is not supreme. The supreme is different from the individual soul. The Supreme Lord can extend his hand without limit. The individual soul cannot. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that if anyone offers him flower, a fruit, or little water, he accepts it. If the Lord is far distant away, how can he accept things? This is the omnipotence of the Lord. Even though he is situated in his own abode, far, far away from earth, he can extend his hand to accept what anyone offers. That's his potency. In Brahma Samhita, it is stated, Golokev Nivsati Akhilatma Bhuto. Although he is always engaged in pastimes, in his transcendental planet, he is all pervading. The individual soul cannot claim that he is all pervading. Therefore, this verse describes the supreme soul, the personality of God, not the Prabhupada's verse, and there are two novels, Paramatma. So right now he is describing about Paramatma. Text 15. Sarvendriya gunabhasam sarvendriya vivartitam asaktam sarvabhichaiva nirgunam gunam bhoktricha. The supersoul is the original source of all senses, yet he is without senses. He is unattached, although he is the maintainer of all living beings. He transcends the modes of nature, and at the same time, he is the master of all the modes of material nature. So, what does it mean when it says, yet he is without senses? All it means is he does not have any material senses. He has spiritual senses are there. That's how he hears and he eats, he smells, he walks, he feels, and he reciprocates with his devotees. It means he has spiritual senses. The Supreme Lord, although the source of all the senses of the living entities, does not have material senses like they have. So we have both the senses, material and spiritual, right now. The soul is not like some kind of point of light and no form, no shape, nothing. It's not like that. Soul has its form and shape and senses. But they're like covered over right now. And Prabhupada at one place, he has explained very nicely. He said, suppose a boy, he's there and his a young body he has, and he always wants to enjoy opposite sex. He wants to touch, he wants to feel. But if he wears a glove on his hand, so with that glove, if he touches any girl, he will not get the same sensation, same feeling, because his senses are covered. So similarly, but they're covered with material modes of nature. So it's like a glove. So that's why we cannot enjoy the spiritual feelings or spiritual experience with the Lord. So right now it's like one glove is touching the other glove, and we think because Krishna has to give some kind of feeling, some kind of pleasure to make sure that we are eligible to go back home, back to Godhead. Till then, we're just enjoying this glove to glove touch. That's all. But the real senses are within that glove. So we have to somehow remove this glove, remove this impurity or impurity that is covering our real consciousness. So for that, there are spiritual practices that we have to adopt, like chanting and hearing and the service, association. These are all spiritual practices. And basically to do what? To remove our covering, remove that glove from our body, from our consciousness, so that we can really enjoy the real senses, what the spirit soul really wants. Or actually, the individual souls have spiritual senses, but in conditioned life, they are covered with the material elements. And therefore, the sense activities are exhibited through matter. The Supreme Lord's senses are not so covered. His senses are transcendental and are therefore called nirguna. Guna means the material modes, but his senses are without material covering. It should be understood that his senses are not exactly like ours. Although he is a source of all our sensory activities, he has his transcendental senses, which are uncontaminated. And another quality of the Supreme Lord is he can he can act through all of his senses, means any of his sense can do the activity of the other sense. Just like in front of deities, we offer a bhoga. We make a nice plate of bhoga. I mean, dal is there, chapati is there, rice is there, sabji, sweet, salad, water, whatever we offer. And we just keep the plate in front of him. Many times he does eat depending upon the love of the devotee by which he has offered. But even if he does not physically eat, he glances at that plate of bhoga and he accepts it. He eats actually through his eyes. So his eyes can do the work of mouth. But his eating, generally, I mean, exceptions are always there. Generally, his eating is he accepts it by his eyes, he eats it, and then he leaves everything back for us to enjoy, for our nourishment of our body. But in some cases, he does eat like the way we eat. The whole prashadam or bhoga will be gone from his plate. So he can eat like that just because he's a master of our senses also. If we eat like that, he can also eat like that. But because he is a supreme, he can act a different way also, the way we cannot. Or just like producing offsprings or procreation. Just like we studied when Varahadev was bringing earth back from the bottom of Garbhodak ocean. So he was bringing the earth. Earth was sitting on the snout, on his tusk. And while he was bringing her back, because of this contact with earth, they had a baby. And that baby later on became Bhaumasura. He became Asura because he had the bad association. So any part of his body can do the activity of any other part of his body. But in our case, it's not like that. And that's where one place it was mentioned, if in our case, Krishna had given us this power, then because we are so fallen and we have no control of our senses, then all the men would be just looking at, say, Miss Universe and Miss World and making them pregnant just by looking at them. Because then any part of a body can function of any other part of the body. Because we don't have any control on our mind, on our senses. So that's why Krishna hasn't given us this power. But those who are spiritually advanced, to a certain extent, by Krishna's mercy, whatever power Krishna can give them, they can also do certain miraculous things. That's also only by the mercy of Krishna, only the power that Krishna gives. They can perform miracles. Means doing things which are not possible for humans. But Krishna is always like that, and he doesn't need the mercy of God to be like that. It should be understood that his senses are not exactly like ours. Although he is the source of all our sensory activities, he has his transcendental senses, which are uncontaminated. This is very nicely explained in Shvetashvatara Upanishad. In this verse, Apani Pada Javano Grahita. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has no hands which are materially contaminated, but he has his hands and accepts whatever sacrifice is offered to him. That is the distinction between the conditioned soul and the supersoul. He has no material eyes, but he has eyes, otherwise, how he could see? He sees everything, past, present, and future. He lives within the heart of the living being and he knows what we have done in the past, what we are doing now, and what is awaiting us in the future. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. He knows everything, but no one knows him because we are not that qualified. We are not that purified that we can know him. Like Arjun said in 10th chapter, no? He said, Param Brahma Param Dhamma Param the supreme pure. So to know him, we also have to be pure. Pure means purity of consciousness. Mercy of Krishna. In case of he knows everything, future of every living entity. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. He knows everything, but no one knows him. It's said that the Supreme Lord has no legs like us, spiritual legs. In other words, impersonal. He has his eyes, legs, hands, and everything else. And because we are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, we also have these things. But his hands, legs, eyes, and senses are not contaminated by material nature. So our eyes and legs and senses are contaminated. Ears, every sense has limitation, and also they're material. So both the conditions of it. When the Lord appears, he appears as he is by his internal potency. He is not contaminated by the material energy. Because he is the Lord of the material energy. In the Vedic literature, we find that his whole environment, such he is the most intelligent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is a maintainer of all living entities and the witness of all activity. As far as we can understand from Vedic literature, the Supreme Lord is all head, face, hands, or legs. He has them. And when we are elevated to the transcendental situation, we can see the Lord's form. Due to materially contaminated senses, we cannot see his form. Therefore, the impersonalist who is still materially affected cannot understand the personality of God. So we are not pure, we are not evolved, we are still conditioned. That's why we get there. And to give us his mercy, then Krishna appears in a form that is made of material elements. Of course, those material elements, when Krishna is using those material elements for his representation, they also become spiritual, but still they look like material to us. So he appears in the form of a deity, in the form of Archa Vigraha. So we can reciprocate with him. We can serve him, we can take care of him. So there is some reciprocation, and that reciprocation is basically for our benefit. It's for our purification. Krishna is always supreme, always spiritual. Krishna is always uncontaminated. He doesn't need our service. We need that service for our purification. So we get more and more attached to Krishna, to his service, to his chanting of his name. Then, at the same time, we get more and more detached from the material world. That is the purification. So doing that slowly, consciousness starts getting purified. So this deity form of Krishna is very, very merciful and very, very important for us to serve. Of course, name of Krishna is also non-different from Krishna, because everything is spiritual in its case. But still, it's difficult for us to, at the moment, because we're not that pure, it's difficult for us to relate with the name. It's more easy for us to relate with the form, with the deity form. So that's why deities are there, and we can get and take. We should take an opportunity to serve the deity and establish a relationship with the deity. And deities do respond to the devotees' desires. They do respond. It's just we have to be there at that level. Just like there are many, millions of stories of relationship or reciprocation of love between the deity and the devotee. Millions of stories. Just like one story of Sakshi Gopal. So there was two Brahmins from South India. One was old and one was young. Different houses, same village. So they went for pilgrimage, and the young Brahman was taking care of the older Brahman. And the old Brahman became very sick when they came to Vrindavan. So the young Brahman took care of him very nicely, serving him without any motives. So the old Brahman, he got so pleased by the service attitude of this young Brahman. So he said, once we go back to our village, I'll marry my daughter to you. The young Brahman said, no, see, this is not right, because you're very rich, I'm very, very poor, and moreover, your family members will not agree to this proposal. And so and he said, don't worry, I am doing my service for you without any expectations. So don't even think of giving something back to me. But the old Brahman said, no, I'm very much happy with your service, and you're a very nice young boy, and I'm looking for this kind of match for my daughter. So I will marry my daughter to you. So young Brahman, so his purpose was, or his thinking was, he didn't want the old Brahman to be considered a liar. Because for Brahmins, it's very important that they speak the truth. So young Brahman said, so at least, so if you really want to marry your daughter to me, why don't you come, say, in front of this deity of Gopalji? There's a beautiful temple in Vrindavan, beautiful deity there, and both the Brahmins were there, and the whole idea was, like in those days, the situation was, if you have said anything in front of a deity, that means you have to keep your word. Not like Kali Yuga. We say so many things, and then even in front of deities, and then we forget, or we don't want to do whatever we have said. But it wasn't like that in those days. So anyway, both the Brahmins came back after more pilgrimage. And the old Brahman had forgotten or not forgotten actually. He came to his house and he told his wife and son that this is what I had promised to this young Brahmin, that to marry my daughter to him. And the son and the wife of this Brahmin, they got very upset. They thinking, how can you say something like that without asking us? Um, so the son of this old Brahmin, he said, let's all just keep quiet. And because if that guy forgets it, it's great. And if he doesn't, then he tells his father that you please just say I don't remember saying anything like this. So after a few months passed, young Brahman, his purpose was he didn't want the old Brahman to be a liar, to be considered a liar by Yamarajji. So he went so the young Brahman came to the old Brahman and he said, you promised me your daughter's hand in marriage after we come back. So let's take care of that. So the old Brahman said, well, I don't remember anything. And this Brahman son, he came forward and he said, yeah, you a liar, you young Brahman, you are a liar. You fed my father some dhatura or something and you made him from. So young Brahman, he went to the panchayat in the village and he told them this is what had happened. So panchayat said, and they called the old Brahman. So the son of older Brahman, he had told his father that if the panchayat says that you have to fulfill this vow, you ask them, was there any witness? And since there was no witness, means the whole thing is a lie. So the old Brahman, he went to the panchayat and panchayat asked him and he said, no, I don't recall anything, saying anything like that. Moreover, there has to be witness. And where is the witness? The young Brahman said, well, there was a witness, the deity of Gopal. He said it in front of the deities of in the deity of Gopal, in front of him. So the panchayat said, well, then you have to bring the witness here, because this is where the court is, and the witness has to come to the court. So the old Brahman's son, he was very happy because he was thinking, how can the deity come here and speak in favor of that young Brahman? It's never going to happen. So he was just like one of us because we don't have that faith in the deity form. So the young Brahman, he went back to Vrindavan from South India, again walked all the way back to Vrindavan and he went to the temple and he told the deity of Gopal that you please come and act as a witness because you're the only one here who was listening to this conversation. So the deities of Gopal, he responded to this faith, to this purity, to this confidence of young Brahman, to the devotion of young Brahman. He said, the deity said, how can I go to this village to act as a witness? I mean, have you ever seen a deity walking and going to some other place? The young Brahman said, very simple-hearted, very pure, very innocently, he said, if you can eat, if you can talk, you can also walk. What's the problem? Where is the problem? Because they were talking to each other. So now Gopalji, he got bewildered. He said, okay, now you defeated me. I'm accepted my defeat. I'll walk. But I have a condition. I have few conditions. So young Brahman said, okay, what are the conditions? The deity said, I will walk behind you. I'll not walk with you. I'll walk behind you. And every day you have to feed me rice, one seer rice, every day. And if you turn around to look at me, I will stop at that place and I will not move from there. The young Brahman said, okay, that's fine, that's perfectly fine. So they both started walking. And then the young Brahman also asked him, okay, if I cannot turn around to see you, and you're not going to walk with me, you're going to walk behind me, how would I know you're coming? Then the deity said, you will always hear the sound of my ankle bells. That way you will know that I'm coming with you. The young Brahmin said, okay, no problem, that's good. So they started walking from Vrindavan to South India, all the way to South India. And this is what was happening. Young Brahman was hearing the sound of the ankle bells of the deity, and he kept on walking. Every night he would stop at a village and he would do madhukari and bake some rice, and he would cook the rice and put it in a plate, and he would not look at that plate, and Gopal would come and eat rice from that plate. And they kept on walking. So when they reached the village, so right when they were at the outskirts of the village, the young Brahmin did not hear the sound of ankle bells anymore. So he got worried. He said, oh, maybe Gopal just went away. He didn't want to come to the village. And he didn't want to come as a witness. So he turned around. He was worried. He turned around. And as soon as he turned around, he saw the deity of Gopal. He was standing right there. So he was very happy. He ran in the temple and he called all the panchayat, all the panchas and everybody, and he brought them to the place where Gopal had come. And everybody saw Gopal, and the sarpanch said, well, Gopal has come to pay as a witness. So it was truth, whatever this young boy was saying. So this girl should be married to him. So that deity of Gopal, then his name became Sakshi Gopal. Sakshi means one who pays a witness, or one who becomes a witness. And that deity of Sakshi Gopal was there. It was Vijayanagar in South India. And when the king of Odisha, there was a war between the Odisha and this Vijayanagar kings. And the Odia king, Purushottam Dev, he defeated the king of Vijayanagar. And at that time, he took this deity of Sakshi Gopal, and there were other deities also, Ganeshi and Radha Radhakanta. He took from this Vijayanagar to Jagannath Puri. So that deity of Sakshi Gopal is still there when we go from Bhubaneswar to Puri. It's in the outskirts of Puri. That deity is still there. And it's a beautiful, beautiful deity. And his name is Sakshi Gopal. In fact, the village is also called Sakshi Gopal village. So whenever you all go to Jagannath Puri, please take darshan of that deity. Beautiful deity. Very tall, in fact. So the deity, he can reciprocate. It's not impossible for him to reciprocate with his devotees' love, devotees' affection, devotees' feelings. It's not impossible. He can do that. And he does that. But he doesn't do with everybody or with every kind of devotee. One has to be really pure, have lots of faith. So sometimes people say, oh, these are the stories from old ages. What about the recent ones? Has any deity responded like the way you described in the old stories? Well, I don't know about other groups, but in ISKCON, yes, many times deities have responded or reciprocated with their devotees. Just like Juhu, Bombay Juhu temple, the main person, I don't know if he's still there, I'm 99% who said dresses of deities, who offer the new dresses, but the main person And he has his office right there in the temple where he makes the deity's dresses. So one festival, the temple president went to him, Abdul, we need this, maybe it was Janmashtami or some other festival. The Janmashtami up and we need a new dress for the deities. The president, where are you going? Abdul said, well, I have to go to the altar to take the measurements. President said, but you have made so many dresses for the deities. You should have already have the measurements. How come you don't have the measurements? Abdul said, Prabhuji, you don't know one thing. Every festival, these deities, they change their size. I have to take the measurements on every festival. And this is our Radha Rasvihari at ISKCON Juhu. So it's not that these things were, and this is not even a Hindu devotee. He was Muslim. But still, the deities respond to the love, to the service attitude of the devotees. Nothing else. For Krishna, there is no such thing as Hindu or Muslim. These are all bodily designations anyway. The soul is not Hindu or Muslim or Christian or Sikh or whatever. Soul is soul. Soul is part and parcel of Krishna. That's it. And Krishna is responding to the soul's love, soul's affection for them. And similarly, there are thousands of other stories in ISKCON also. This is how the deities do respond. And Krishna responds through that in the form of a deity with his devotees. Text 16. Bahirantascha bhutanam acharam charamev cha sukshmatvat tad vigyayam durastham chantike cha. The supreme truth exists outside and inside of all living beings, the moving and the non-moving. Because he is subtle, he is beyond the power of material senses to see or to know. So in Vedic literature, we understand that Narayan, the Supreme Person, is residing both outside and inside of every living entity. He is present, still he is near to us. These are the statements of Vedic literature. Even in Ishopanishad, it is mentioned. Krishna says, I am farthest away and I am the closest to a person. And because he's always engaged in transcendental bliss, we cannot understand how he is enjoying these material. To understand him, our material mind and senses cannot act. But one who has purified his mind and senses by practicing Krishna consciousness in devotional service can see him constantly. So that is the difference. It's confirmed in Brahma Samhita that the devotee who has developed love for the Supreme God can see him always without cessation. And it's confirmed in Bhagavad Gita that he can be seen and understood only by devotional service. Bhaktiyatva ananya shakya. Text 17. Avivaktam cha bhuteshu vivaktam ev cha sthitam bhuta bhartri cha tadgeyam grasishnu prabha vishnu cha. Although the super soul appears to be divided among all beings, he is never divided. He is situated as one. Although he is a maintainer of every living entity, it is to be understood that he devours and develops all. The Lord is situated in everyone's heart as a super soul. Does this mean that he has become divided? No. Actually, he is one. The example is given of the sun. The sun at the meridian is situated in its place. But if one goes for 5,000 miles in all direction and asks, where is the sun? Everyone will say that it's shining on his head. In the Vedic literature, this example is given to show that although he is undivided, he is situated as if he is divided. So means as super soul, he's in everybody's heart, and every super soul is different. But does that mean he's divided? No, he's still one. It just he's present in everybody's heart, but originally he's one. Also, it is said in Vedic literature that one Vishnu is present everywhere by his omnipotence, just as the sun appears in many places to many persons. And the Supreme Lord, although the maintainer of every living entity, devours everything at the time of annihilation. So this is another pastime or another duty that he does. Although he's maintaining everybody, but he destroys everything also at the time of annihilation. This was confirmed in the 11th chapter when the Lord said that he had come to devour all the warriors assembled at Kurukshetra. He also mentioned that in the form of time, he devours also. Means, Kalo Asmi, he says, or Mrityu Sarvarashchaham. He is the annihilator, the killer of all. When there is creation, he develops all from their original state, and at the time of annihilation, he devours them. The Vedic confirms the fact that he is the origin of all living entities and the rest of all. After creation, everything rests in his omnipotence, and after annihilation, everything again returns to rest in him. So that is the super soul or Paramatma feature, or even the Purusha avatar feature. So they all are same. It's just different response or different duties of every feature that Krishna has. So anyway, we'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments? Yes, Hemant Prabhu. Haribol.
I was thinking, Prabhuji, like these stories, like we should share more stories actually daily. It increases the faith, isn't it?
Oh yeah, yeah, it sure does.
I from I think in one video, I think it was shared on the group, showing that Gaur Nitai, this one Mataji, Prabhuji was giving the lecture, and he was saying Gaur Nitai increases by inch every year.
Wow, they can do
And
that.
yes, and their khadaus develop the grooves, and she has to change many khadaus. It's like and this Mataji
Well,
is still on the earth. Yes, Prabhu.
there's I heard of this nice story in Delhi temple.
Mhm.
There was one Mataji, and she had just moved to Delhi. I believe she was from Bombay, and she didn't know about the devotees in Delhi temple, in the congregation. And in Delhi congregation, there is a wonderful devotee. His name is Ved Vyas Prabhu, who's also an industrialist. He's very rich. So somehow Krishna came to the dream of this Mataji who didn't even know who Ved Vyas Prabhu is. Who didn't know. And came to the dream and tell maybe Laddu Gopal at home. And he said, but Nick, the flute, I cannot play that flute. And then Mataji came, Prabhu, and finally she came to know who Ved Vyas Prabhu is. And so he was shocked, and then he got a flute with the holes. And that's when the deities was happy. So we don't know what Krishna does. He just reciprocates with his devotees. That's all.
Very good.
So anyway, we keep on serving, and Krishna will reciprocate with us too.
Haribol.
Haribol. Thank you all very much. You all have a wonderful Sunday. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Jai Shri Prabhupada. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you so much.